Yeah,
Ready?
so I'll count you down because we kind of start on like a -15, so DD's just going to time me in. All right, you ready, bud?
Yeah, we'll explain why we're doing this a little bit later into the run, but basically we're just setting up a little bit of manipulation for the rest of the run.
All
So
right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so basically, this is Super Mario Odyssey. This is a bit of a heck of a run, but it is our latest 3D Mario game, which is always fun, as we can imagine. So we got 3, 2, 1, and go. Yeah, boys. So for anyone that hasn't played this game before, it basically follows the same Mario formula as you... Sorry? Oh, that's all right, whatever. Just go for it, I guess. You know, Bowser's done his thing to Peach, and Peach is doing Peach things, I guess, and we gotta try and save the day. So this is our lovely sentient ghost of a hat, and we get to chase him down.
obviously we're skipping all of the cutscenes in this game, but yeah, like Tom said, the story's pretty standard. You've got your Bowser steals Peach story here. The main thing about Super Mario Odyssey is the whole cap throw mechanic, and it really does add a lot to this game's moveset. You're going to be seeing him bouncing off of his cap a lot. You're going to see him kind of using Cappy to its full potential in all of these different situations. It really gives him a lot of height on his jumps, as well as Mario's typical moveset as well. So. And the one thing that Cappy's really known for here is the capture mechanic. So the first thing we're going to do is grab one of these frogs. And this is going to help us get up the wall here really fast. You're going to see captures all over the place in this game. And a lot of the captures have kind of a hidden mechanic, and this game is notorious for motion controls. If there's a thing that you see him do in the game that you maybe haven't been able to do in your own playthrough, he's probably shaking the controller to do it. He tried to go for a trick called left side there. Basically, you see this ramp going around. You go to the right side, you climb up the ramp. That's how you're supposed to get up there. You can do a jump, very, very precise jump to get up there and save a little bit of time, but it's not a big deal if you miss it.
Yeah, you can back it up pretty quick and basically tie what it would take to do right side, so it's not the worst if you miss it. And just like that, we're out at Cap Kingdom.
The very cool thing about this speed game that makes it so fun is because the idea is to get through every single level, and there's no real sequence breaks for the levels. The sequence breaks come in the form of like trying to avoid cutscenes and story elements and stuff like that, but there is no real like jump to the end of the game kinds of situations. Every kingdom requires you to get a certain amount of moons to get to the end, and it's just about finding which ones of those are the fastest. That's kind of the routing mechanic of this game. Cappy betraying him a little bit there.
He tends to do that. He's our best friend.
He's kind of a rude boy, though.
The best kind of rude boy. Yes, sick. Ugh.
So as much as we try to avoid these cutscenes, there's only so much we can do. This one kind of opens up the rest of the level. There's a boss that kind of waits at the top of this kingdom, and we can't really activate that boss unless we get this moon first. We used to be able to skip this moon, but it just so happens that the current patch of the game is the fastest one, and it does kind of wall that off, so we do have to get this one.
Forever miss first moon skip. So here we're going to see Nintendo's, most advertised capture, a good old T-Rex. He's really annoying to control, but we can just wiggle out. Oh, no, let's set back up.
Yeah, he's got to line up that left foot just so. And he's up. There you go. Here's that boss fight we were talking about. Basically, if you've done this casually, you probably know that you have to like capture the golden chain jump, kind of run around the arena, but he's jumping on the chain jump in such a way that he can just kind of avoid having to do all of that, finishing off the fight in seconds.
Yeah, we kind of have the luxury with Odyssey where we don't really have any overly difficult boss fights. A lot of the movement mechanics can be really difficult, and that's mostly where you're going to lose a lot of your time, but the actual fights themselves are not all that bad, and they're basically exactly the same every single time you go in. So you're not really shocked at anything.
It's a game that doesn't have a whole lot of RNG at all. That's probably what makes it a really satisfying speed game. It's like a very easy game at its core, so you get into it and you can beat the game in one sitting, and it's very satisfying. But when you get to the top level, that's, you know, optimizing that movement with so many different options is what makes this game just as tough as it is, really.
I'm getting input drops, dude.
All right, avoiding that chain jump, and you just need 5 moons to leave Cascade, and we're on to Sand. This is where the game kind of opens up a little bit more. Our options are more plentiful. There's different moons that we can get here. Now, I don't know about DST. I didn't actually have time running, so.
If I don't get that.
It's possible that we missed the timing for the seed that we were setting up at the beginning. So the reason that we were changing our time at the very beginning is we were trying to basically get the clock to tick over a certain hour as we plant a seed in Sand Kingdom that you're going to see him do here. We might have been just a touch too slow to make it work properly. If that's the case, we can just go into the system settings and set the clock proper just by itself.
Yeah, it only loses us about like 7 or 8 seconds to go into the system menu.
Not a huge deal.
I'm going to take a venture and say it probably didn't work, so I'm probably just going to do it anyway. Otherwise, we would be pushing it a little bit.
Judging by the time we're on there, we're probably going to have to do it anyways.
Yeah, that's fine.
So not a big deal. He's just going to go into the switch menu to set the clock forward. But basically, the seeds in this game, you plant them in pots, and once you plant them in a pot, the game takes the actual switch clock, the real-time clock, and 20 minutes later, it will grow into a full plant and spawn a moon. But if we set it to a specific time right before daylight savings time, the hour will move forward ahead, and the game will be tricked into thinking that an actual hour has passed, which is what makes the trick work. But you can do this at home. If you plant a seed in a pot and then just go into your switch setting, change your time an hour forward, the seed will just grow just like that. So we're going to do that really quick.
Well, the best part about it is that it took us, what, like a year and a half to figure out?
It's amazing. It was like, it's always been there. We just didn't know about it. So yeah, through the magic of behind the scenes here.
Nintendo doesn't need to know.
And there it is.
Wow.
Has this run actually been going on for an hour already?
Dee, we just found a 20-minute time save, dude.
Oh my goodness.
We're insane, dude. Yeah, I'm just gonna abuse the shopkeeper, apparently.
Beat the shopkeepers up a little bit. Take out your frustrations.
Sometimes I just think their moons are too expensive.
And then the rest of Sand is just kind of like your pure raw movement. There's a couple of tricks. The one that we're going to set up for really soon here is one that the community affectionately refers to as Dram. Just because there was a runner who used to be running this game by the name of Dram, he decided to come up with this idea that you could essentially throw Cappy close to a bullet bill and use the homing mechanic to capture it after you grab a moon. You're going to see it happen here pretty soon.
What else do we call Dram, DD?
Literally everything in this game. Just about everything. The setup looks good. And we're going to see...
Yoink.
He warps right up like that. Yes, very good.
Looks surprisingly easy, not surprisingly easy.
Timing is extremely tight on something like that, yeah. We're going to do another baby version of that again here.
Should? No.
Oh, just missed the capture, but that's not too bad.
It's a bit hard to set that one up when I can't overly hear the game, because I normally rely on hearing the bullet bill shoot out of the cannon.
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Now, if you're familiar with speedruns of this game of the past, we would technically end up going in the opposite direction. We used to be able to like clip behind a sphinx and get into a treasure room. We can't do any of that anymore on the current patch, so we've had to route in some different faster moons, including the sea. So that's why we're just kind of continuing along here. Yes, and that's what we call Jaxie skip. If you hit a certain part of the platform, it's a pretty easy thing to do, but it can always be scary because there's a death zone like right below you, right? So.
And this game is notorious for dropping inputs. Just literally any little thing that causes lag can basically just cause any amount of inputs to just disappear. So that one's especially scary when you try and input a cap throw to get on top and you just go nowhere. Because it loses about a minute because we end up back in that shop area. So it's a bit of a trek to get back up this hill. And we don't have any checkpoints nearby. So it's just a walk of shame.
Indeed. At a beginner level, there are some checkpoints nearby that you could grab if you wanted to for safety, but you know, we're pro gamers. We gotta take the shortcuts.
While you're doing that, do you mind if I read out a few donations?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go for it.
Perfect time.
Alrighty. We've got one donation here of $14.80 from Durand. I hope I pronounced that right. Save the frames. And another one here from Cryptic Crow, also for $14.80. Go Tom Go from the other bird in the front row. Thanks for those guys.
Appreciate it. And now we're on to our next kingdom.
For my next trick.
Bit
So
of
Lake Kingdom, it used to, like when we first did these speedruns, this was just kind of like the relaxation kingdom. It's really short, really sweet. You only need 10 moons. They're all really close together. But a discovery was made a couple of months ago where, you know, we just break the game a little bit and it kind of adds a little bit of stress to this kingdom. It feels like every kingdom in this run seems to have just one thing that, like, you know, you kind of get nervous about now.
Yeah, it used to be not all that bad till you got to the end. And then you get better, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this whole game is just scary. Why do I do this?
Yeah, it's just all technical precision all the time. So we're going to be coming up on it here. Basically, right above this moon that's in this little alcove, there is a flag that is a checkpoint, and we're going to do some fancy out-of-bounds maneuvers to try and grab that checkpoint with Cappy.
Yeah, I thought that was going to fake.
All right, so you can see he's trying to shove Cappy through the crack in the wall here. Yeah, very nice. And we were talking about how we basically want to try and avoid as many cutscenes and as many story elements as we possibly can. This is an example of this. So instead of going to fight Rango and getting the multi-moon, we're doing this. We're getting a couple of moons by going out of bounds and doing some trickery, and it ends up saving about 7 or 8 seconds.
Just snuck that one in there, dude.
Yeah. And yeah, now it's just a matter of kind of going around the kingdom, gathering the fastest moons that do exist here, and then we'll be on our way.
Yeah, we're back to relaxation kingdom.
Yeah, it's just the beginning that's kind of scary here. Gives you a little bit of room to breathe before the next kingdom, which is notoriously fun.
Possibly the scariest kingdom. Alright, so we've just got one more to grab. I'm just gonna try and sneak our way in here. And we have a nice friend that just wants to give us a moon, because we exist, apparently.
Thank you for finding me.
Wow.
Yeah, and the upcoming kingdom now is Wooded Kingdom, and you know, if you guys have played this game, this is probably like one of the swankiest kingdoms as far as the music is concerned.
Yeah.
One of the best thematically. It's got some really great sub areas. It is a nightmare as a speedrunner to do because not only is it a very vertical kingdom and falling down loses you time and all those kinds of things, but we do break the game in a sense here more so than anywhere else, and it just so happens that going out of bounds here saves the most time. So if you miss it, you lose a lot of time. Tends to kill a lot of PB pace runs.
Yeah, we're going to be doing one specific trick that was found by the community a while back that, in a routing sense, saves about 30 seconds. But as I haven't actually done that route in a while, if I miss it, it'll probably lose me a little bit more than that.
Yeah. And it just so happens that this trick only has one chance at it. If you miss it, you really can't go back out of bounds to do it. So it's kind of first try is the only try. So.
Yeah, there is a way to end back out of bounds, but it is notoriously difficult, especially in these later versions of the games. Some people find it easier than others, but me personally, it's virtually impossible.
It's typically considered that if you miss it, you just kind of move on and do one of the older routes that we used to have.
So this is one of 2 shop visits that we actually make in this game. So this whole time I've kind of been eyeing my coin count, because moons cost 100 coins, and we just scraped by with 104. Could have ended poorly, but it looked fine.
So grabbing this swift little nut boy here, grabbing one moon, and then it's going to be the moon after this that initiates the trick. You know, the Odyssey community has a lot of really weird names for things, but this one is actually affectionately referred to as nut clip. That looks pretty good.
Looked good, felt good.
All right, he's in. Now that's only half the battle. We have to kind of do some maneuvering out of bounds. There's a plane underneath this. Now he's got to be very careful here. Okay, he's staying. But basically he can fall into the deep woods if he makes a mistake here, so he's got to be very careful. Okay, he's got this moon now. And he's up. That's good. All right, so the scary part there is basically over. He's got to get up this ramp now. And that is essentially the mechanics of the newer route that we've had, and that he has kind of saved the 30 seconds there as a result. But there's still more wooded to go. The whole kingdom is just scary, because if you fall down, you die. And there's not a whole lot of checkpoints, so...
Yeah, in a normal run setting, I wouldn't typically get any checkpoints on purpose, so it's kind of one of those things where if I die, I'm very likely to end up all the way back at the Odyssey. So it's more or less a run killer, but there is a checkpoint just up ahead that I'm gonna try and purposefully grab.
Yeah, probably just grab that for safety.
Just because if I fall down here, it's a very long trek back.
That's right. The last checkpoint was essentially the shop that he visited, so you would have to make the entire trek back.
And there's also a gate cutscene that we skipped with Nutclip that we would have to sit through as well, so it's not a fast trek back. Yeah, I saw that
see,
coming.
that can happen, so... Luckily, he does have that checkpoint, so he can just kind of attempt the skip again here.
I don't want you here, go away.
Yeah. And so now, if you have played this game before, you'll know that the story moons kind of work in progression. So in order for us to beat Speward at the top of this tower, we needed to get that Piranha Plant moon, and so we skipped it. So you realize, okay, obviously we're not going to be fighting that boss and getting the multi-moon, so we have to do something else. And there was a routing change a couple months ago that kind of remedies that a little bit. We're going to just get up to the top of this tower and then hop off immediately afterwards and do a faster sub-area for the moons that we need.
Which, as per Wooded Kingdom, is also notoriously annoying.
Yep, the entire kingdom.
I'm going to try and bounce off this robot. Yeah, nice. Alright, fuzzies. Yeah, alright, cool.
Just a little ballerina action there.
Look, if I don't look good, DD, what's the point?
Now this sub area is really fun. When you do it fast, it looks very, very stylish as well.
It's half the battle, of course.
Might still be able to make this one. Yes, very nice. And you can kind of take a deep breath because we're out of Wooded Kingdom now.
I normally bounce off that left wall, but I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to have the height necessary.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I was feeling that either, so it was a good
yeah,
choice.
I just backed that up, cap stall on the wall, and hope for the best.
Mind if I interrupt with a very special donation?
Absolutely.
Perfect time.
All right, so I've got a $29.60 donation from Fight Me Mate. I was proud of you when you started your Twitch, and I'm proud of you now. Love you, God Gamer.
There you go.
Wowee. My own little hype Scott is pushing that luck a bit too much. Alright, so we're about to have our first encounter with Bowser up in the sky.
Yeah, just here to ruin our day a little bit.
As he tends to do.
Nice, okay.
That was scary.
Little safety platform there, that's good. Now there's not a whole lot to this fight. It is, like, there's no RNG elements really. Basically we're gonna be trying to set up just a couple of manipulations to make sure that Bowser is like hopping to platforms and doing it in the least amount of time possible.
That was...
Oh, he still got it, okay.
Please? Alright, good.
But yeah, this fight essentially just get right up in Bowser's face, hop on the hats as soon as he throws them out, and just try and finish them off just like that. We are going to use damage boosting to kind of make it a little bit easier to time these a little bit. But yeah, easy peasy.
Yeah, so the idea of manipulating Bowser there is so that when we knock him away, we only want him to jump one platform over, so basically the one right next to him. If we don't do that, every time that he jumps to a platform further away, it loses 1.5 seconds. So it's not overly critical, but it's those nice little additions that add up.
Now Lost is a great kingdom.
Especially when it eats my inputs.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Just
not going to
a
happen.
misjump on here. So there's instant death poison all over this kingdom, and of course if you touch it, then you go back to the beginning. We don't collect any checkpoints in the any percent run. But essentially, if you've played this game, you probably go and follow the path, and then you realize there's a bird waiting for you, and he steals Cappy. But instead, by jumping on this tree like he just did and going around the back way, we're going to be avoiding that bird entirely. It's what we call klepto skip. And essentially, we're going to just gather some fast moons along the outside here.
I don't like this.
Might have to just take a little back up there.
I got a Cappy return jump, which is all
There
good.
we go. We're going to gather some moons along the backside, and then we're going to get right up in Klepto's face. And if we just go up and stand on his stairwell, he's going to think he has Cappy, and it's going to kind of disarm him. So that's how we're going to avoid needing to go through the whole cutscene of getting Cappy back.
So everybody chirp a Klepto. Bye, boy.
Yep, he's a good lad.
I love the little jingle that he gives you. But yeah, I did it. Mom, get the camera.
And now just one final kind of tricky jump that we got to do here. Yes, very nice.
You say one more, but that's not the easiest thing either.
Oh yeah. Luckily, this doesn't save as much time, or sorry, lose as much time as it looks like it does, because he's going to be right back at the Odyssey.
Which is where we want to be anyway.
Yeah, more annoying than anything. But yeah, getting out from underneath that bridge with the cap dive is going to be the optimal thing to do there, but not a big deal.
More reliant on where you kind of come from and dive towards the moon.
Yeah, you got to be kind of in the right place to make it work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was a little bit too far to the right and I was a little bit too low, so I just didn't have the height or positioning necessary to do what I wanted to do.
And now we kind of approach the one kingdom that Nintendo really pushed at the beginning of the release of this game, was this Metro Kingdom here. Very big, bustling city.
It's where the people are.
It's where all the people at.
Ah yes, eat my input more, please.
Now this kingdom, there is a story element that we can't really avoid. Right now you see it's dark and stormy and kind of what we call the night version of this kingdom. There aren't enough moons here. You need a 20 to leave. There aren't quite enough moons here to leave normally, so we do have to go and we need to beat the Mecha Wiggler that's kind of terrorizing the top of the City Hall. That needs to be done. There's not a whole lot that we can really do to avoid that.
I don't think I'm gonna make this.
Mind if I interrupt with a couple of donations?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
We got a $22.20 donation from Jet Lordia. Sorry if I butchered that. Go Tomshiii. Good luck with the run, and you have a lot of burbs cheering you on, my friend. I also have a $7.40 donation from Time Travel Penguin. Hey, Time Travel Penguin here, Tom's brother, also known as the Better Brother. I wish I had more to give, but unfortunately not. Remember, Tom, when you were going through that 2D jump? Don't do it, man. Dying in a speedrun isn't worth it. Good luck, the family are all watching.
Monka. Did I just wonk on that? Okay, sure. Thanks, chest.
This City Hall section is notoriously annoying for things like this.
Getting sniped.
Yeah, and one kind of scary long jump across the City Hall. The camera really wrestles with you there. It can be hard to manage trying to get the cap bounce to work properly. But now that we're at the top, we're going to do this boss fight. One of the very, very small elements of RNG in this run. Basically, we're going to be trying our best to finish this fight in 2 cycles. The first one, he always does the same thing, and you can kind of just fire the shots at him. And you're going to see him kind of put himself in the corners of the walls here so that the Wiggler goes the absolute shortest distance between the walls that he possibly can. And then the second phase is where the RNG kicks in, because we can get just about any number of patterns here. There are a couple that can finish the fight very fast, but all of them could be potentially 2 cycles. That's what we're going to try to do.
The main thing that makes this a little bit more difficult than you would expect is just that his hitboxes are not what you would expect them to be just looking at them. Sometimes you'll hit it and it just won't do anything, and you'll just assume that you've taken it out, but think again, gamer, you're actually missing like 4 orbs.
Got a pretty decent pattern there though, so he's going to be able to finish the fight off in 2 cycles, so very good.
Come back.
I never realized how shiny Mario's face is during this cutscene until just now.
He seems overly happy about this. He just brutally murdered this poor robot.
So, now that we've finished this kind of story element, we've brought daytime to the kingdom. This is just kind of the beginning of the story. We do have quite a few tricky things in Day Metro that we need to take care of. A couple moons that we need to collect. One of the more technically precise kingdoms, and it definitely like kind of tests your platforming ability. We do a couple tricks as well. And we're going to start with something called Scooter Clip. As soon as he comes out of this wire, he's going to hop on a scooter and try and basically get Mario's big fat nose into the side of a cage to grab a moon. Perfect, just like that. Another
surprised that
capture
works.
warp strategy here that we affectionately refer to as Dram, basically throwing Cappy out and trying to get him to home in on something as we're collecting and doing something else. This nice little bench friend just, you know, put a smile on his face.
He's a
Shout
little
outs
bit
to bench
sad.
friend.
We make him happy.
And
That's some
after
video game content.
that little up throw roll cancel gets me every time, I love it.
You gotta start doing it. I don't know why you're not.
I gotta start implementing that, I do.
Come back, please. What are you doing?
Hardest part of the run right there, by the way, escaping the crates.
Just not having your roll input deleted is more difficult than you would think it to be. Just shake the controller, please.
This is a lot trickier than it looks.
Again, dude.
You're out of coins.
Oh, heck.
All right, so we are gonna have to go for a backup here.
What do I go for?
That's a good question. We might have to just do a musician.
Okay. When?
All right.
Come back.
All right, so this sub area is only optimal if you can like basically get that cycle at the very beginning in the most optimal possible way. It is very tricky to do, so he's gonna have to just kind of go for a backup here.
Come back, please. So these stupid pillars kind of rely, yikes, on like a 2.5D plane. So they're a little more finicky than they look.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of when you would do that.
That's just at the end.
Yeah.
Please make it. Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, we might as well just grab it.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Some on the fly routing for you guys here. He just didn't have quite enough coins to finish up that slots run, so he's just gonna have to go for a backup here and grab this drummer. He's a good lad.
He's just happy to be involved.
Now just a couple more instances of some scary vertical platforming. I'm gonna go up, way up to the top of this tower. Grab this moon here.
How did that work, dude?
And then kind of just make our way all the way back down to the street. And you're gonna see him ground pound a spot in this pool. And a little 8-bit Luigi pops out there. So there's only 2 instances in the whole run that we need 100 coins. So by activating that Luigi, we have more than enough coins for when we need them later on. And that'll be in the next kingdom. We're gonna be visiting a shop, so.
Do we have time for some donations?
You bet.
All right, beautiful. We've got a couple here. We've got a $7 donation from Aiden's Pasta Sauce. Can't give much, but all my luck to you, Tom. Cheering you on from the US. We've got another donation here, $52 from Jimmy Boy. Loving these runs. Put it towards the Japanese Octopath. Jimmy Boy, thank you. And we've got a $15 donation from Nismai. Charlotte, Aurora, and Elijah say hello, Dangers, and Tom. Thanks for those, guys.
Nismai is precious, and so are her kids. Thank you, Nismai.
We appreciate you.
All right, and that is Metro Kingdom. That is probably the longest kingdom in the run. Just because there are so many story elements that we kind of need to take care of, and just a lot of moons to collect. on to snow. And snow's really fun.
Yep.
I feel like we could just say that about every kingdom in the run. Just like, wow, this is really fun that we're approaching.
It really sounds like we're complaining a lot, but it just so happens that every single kingdom almost has something incredibly difficult attached to it.
It's true. We're really not kidding when we say that there's like one thing in every kingdom that's just like, man, that could kill the run easily.
Odyssey tends to have a high reset rate just for a lot of runners.
Yes. The reason for that being is because it is just like so technically and like raw technical skill is kind of what makes the run good. Also, shoutouts to Captain Toad. He's such a good lad. So piercing.
Piercing?
Wholesome and pure, I think is where I was trying to go with that.
2 words in one, optimal.
We also ruined his little igloo house, so we're basically leaving him out in the cold to die, and that's kind of tragic, but...
Now the thing that is just kind of the kicker for the difficult part of Snow Kingdom is that it's right at the end of the kingdom, and if you choose to go for it in the round, you don't really have a choice.
That's right.
You kind of commit to it, and if you miss it, it loses you 20 seconds each time you fail it, and there's not really much else you can do. You either go for it, or you just go with the old route.
Yeah. Setting up for a trick here to try and go through the wall and save about 2 seconds, and he's going to be able to do that here. Just kind of skips having to like go into the hallway manually. And that kind of has the same mechanic as the nut clip that we were looking at earlier when he went out of bounds in Wooded Kingdom. The game kind of enters a different phase, and like anything that has collision just doesn't in those moon cutscenes. So we can kind of jimmy Mario into a wall and make it so that he goes out of bounds in places like that.
That one's a bit harder to set up. In Nut Clip, you're against a wall, so you can basically just face plant it, turn around, and go for it. Snow Clip's a little bit different, and it's a bit harder to pull off. So it's always kind of a nice, happy moment when it works.
Definitely earn the swag points for getting it.
What do you mean? I get it every time. Duh.
Now, another element of RNG in this run is like just kind of the patterns that the Goombas follow when they walk around this room. Some of them can be kind of annoying, but not like a huge time loss no matter what they do. Sometimes the third one that he captured will just like run off the cliff. I mean, that's a big time loss, but otherwise...
Yeah, if he chooses to run off, you have to kind of follow suit because he doesn't respawn, so you have to reset the room.
Yeah, and you need all 4 to open the door, so... So yeah, so he could opt to go and get a different moon that's kind of hiding around like a mountain wall in a different one of these sub-areas that he's going into, but instead he's going to save 8 seconds by doing something that we call affectionately Snow Dram. I'm not sure if you guys are following the naming scheme here, but everything is named Dram.
Why not?
Why not? It has nothing to do with the first strategy at all. It's more of like a trick jump, essentially, but after he buys this moon here, he's going to be trying to do that jump to get the last moon. And this trick relies heavily on just your ability to know how far and how long Mario's jumping. So we're going to see just if he's able to do it.
Yeah,
Just a little bit short on that one. Didn't look like you got the right cap bounce there.
Yeah, it was a little bit too early, I'm pretty sure. It's alright, we can fix that up.
Hey, there we go. Very nice. Get the nice little cap bounce on the way back as well. Very, very stylish.
You gotta add the style points.
So I would say if there is like an easiest kingdom in this run, it's probably the one coming up. Seaside is pretty relaxing. The hardest part of it is probably the beginning part where you're kind of on the shore, gathering some moons along the rocky wall. but it still is probably one of the more kind of, you know, laid-back kingdoms. Kind of get a breather before you go into the post-game, like the end part of this run.
But of course, just because it's easier doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah, it's still Odyssey we're talking about, still very technically precise. So.
Speaking of easy, I do have a relevant donation here, if that's all right.
Yeah, go
Sure.
for it.
I have a $1.50 donation from Jason Blaze. Hey Tom, if you PB this run, I'll give you 20 bucks. Also, my donation didn't go through earlier. Also, hello Twitch chat.
Hello, Twitch chat.
Twitch chat's popping. All right.
All right. So yeah, like I said, the beginning is probably the hardest part of Seaside here. You got to climb up this rock wall without the advice of or any captures or anything like that right at the beginning. So.
Yeah, and that wall that I was bouncing off is pretty notorious for just not giving you the wall jump that you expect and just making you fall.
Yeah. Now, kind of the feature of all of these moons that he's collecting along the rock wall here is you're supposed to have a capture. You're supposed to get one of these gushy boys that can kind of like spray water and go up really high vertically. But he's just trying to avoid that and use just general platforming to get them instead a lot faster.
Now, basically, the rest of this kingdom we're going to be spending with this fish.
Yeah, just kind of swimming around. There's a lot of fast ones just kind of sitting out in the open air.
A lot of the remaining time save is basically just from cutting corners as best you can and not running into walls because in classic Odyssey fashion it makes you bonk and lose time.
Fish bonks are kind of embarrassing. There is one trick remaining left in this kingdom. It was a trick probably the most like recently discovered of the Odyssey tricks that we have that go into the any percent run. But essentially what he's going to do is he's going to manipulate the way that a capture works to basically shimmy his way out of bounds. It's actually one of the easiest tricks to do in this entire run. If you kind of know the mechanics of it and you understand how it works, you can probably try it for yourself at home. But he's just going to grab this one moon and then he's going to initiate the trick here. He's going to swim over to the edge of this kind of invisible wall. And just shimmy out of bounds, just like that. And using the motion control mechanic there actually extends the hitbox so that he can stay out of bounds and get that moon without coming back in, which lets us go into this corridor without having to answer any Sphinx questions.
And just like that, we're out of this kingdom as well.
Out of Seaside. Into my favorite kingdom, personally.
Lunchy boy.
Yeah, I do love me some luncheon. Speedrunning it is terrible, but I mean the aesthetic of it is great. I really enjoy that they basically disguised a Mario lava level with it being food related, and there's pink Pepto-Bismol everywhere.
Have we got time to plug some donation incentives?
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so tomorrow we have a bid war going for the Octopath Traveler, Japanese versus English voices. And recently with a donation of $5 from Darms with the message, ooh, woo, that puts Japanese in front of the English now by $3. And we also have another bid war for Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage for the color of Spyro. Black is currently ahead, but there's still green, blue, pink, red, and yellow up for grabs as well. So get those in before the start of the run tonight, folks.
So same thing there. That moon is a lot easier to get if you get some captures, but he just kind of manipulated some height and some jumps to get up to that salt pile very, very easily. Not so easily, but...
Geometry is a bit weird in this game. A lot of hitboxes don't really line up with what you're seeing visually. This is Spewit. This is the boss that we were supposed to fight all the way back in Water Kingdom, but we didn't really want to deal with him, so we just kind of ran around him. And
Very
he's dead.
difficult fight if you couldn't tell. So now we got the easy part of the kingdom out of the way. You know, just the first couple moons, no big deal. Things start to really ramp up here. And it's not so much that like anything in this kingdom is going to lose you a big chunk of time, but it's just every little thing adds up. It's very easy to kind of mess up a little bit everywhere. The main feature of this kingdom is its weird kind of like neon colored polygons, and those polygons, just the physics of them don't make any sense at all. So what looks like a floor is probably actually just a wall. What looks like a wall is probably not a wall at all. So you just like knowing which part of the polygon you're allowed to step on is really tricky.
Basically what just happened there. Instead of rolling, Mario just decided that he was going to go on a little adventure. I need my input.
Yeah, that'll do. Just a couple moons kind of scattered about this town that are really fast to pick up, so he's going to be doing those. And kind of a tricky thing coming up right away here. So he's going to get up on top of this one pillar. There's another moon hiding here. And he has to be very fast. He's got to get to that further salt pile island. There's another one hiding there. And he's going to try and capture one of these lava bubbles around the same time that he gets the moon. That setup looks really good.
Should work.
Yeah,
Nice.
very good. Now, one of the most satisfying sub-areas in this entire run upcoming here. It kind of just uses all of your platforming mechanics all at once. Lots of homing, lots of throwing. It just makes the room look very easy.
Oh, whoa.
There we go.
The great thing about Cappy in this game is you'll shake for him to home in on something, like a capture like that fork, and there's maybe about a 5% chance that he will just ignore what is right next to you, and he will just fly into midair for no reason. So that room is especially scary because one wrong home and you're falling and you lose 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I just got
sniped,
sniped,
yeah.
dude. That's fun.
Now, this story moon is kind of unavoidable.
Out of my way.
Basically just like making a little fort out of the cheese rocks there. Very nice. It's pretty safe to say that like the scariest part of luncheon is over, but you know, it's still this Pepto-Bismol everywhere. Just one false move and you're in it, and there's not a whole lot you can do to get out of it. So you still got to be kind of tight on your movements. Make sure you've got it under wraps.
You may have even seen me do these spin throws where Mario will throw his hat in a circle around him. You can actually motion control both directions, clockwise and anti-clockwise. I'm more of a clockwise person, and DD needs to watch out here because there's actually an anti-clockwise spin that I need to do.
It's true.
And this Pro Controller just seems to not like it, so I need to flail pretty hard just to make sure it comes out.
There we go. And so we usually avoid story moon elements, but this one is literally just sitting out in the open air, so it is kind of just natural to grab this. We do have to wait through the cutscene, but it does give us 3, and it sends us right back to the Odyssey. We have all the moons we need, so we can just go right to the next kingdom. And we don't have to worry about this giant chicken. He's just history. We can leave luncheon behind. And Upcoming here is probably the most exciting kingdom in the whole run.
It's essentially our side scroller for the entire run.
Yeah, if we have donations, this next kingdom is probably the best place to do them because, you know, if you guys have seen the Ruined Dragon, it's a boss fight, but there's not a whole lot that we can really do to manipulate it, so.
It's basically just 3 minutes of jumping around and spinning and doing whatever I want.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, fantastic, because we actually have a few right here. I have a $7 donation from Molly. Hey guys, this is my first live speedrun event, and I'm so glad to see Odyssey being run. Also, shout out to the AstroTurf boys, the best competitive Splatoon team in the world. I also have a $15 donation here from Swift Talu.
Hey.
Hey.
Good luck, Tom. Smile. Love you, bud. Proud of you. Love hard.
Love you, Swift. Oh.
Swift, you're lovely.
And while we're at it, for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching ASM at PAX 2019. We are a group that do speedruns to raise money for charity, and this year we're raising money for Child's Play, a charity that helps sick children in hospital empower their lives with the power of play. If anyone would like to donate, we do have a little tin at the front here, or you can go to donate.ozspeedruns.com. Thank you.
So about the only thing that you really need to know about this fight is that we're doing it as intended. There's not anything that we can do to sequence break the fight or make it go faster. About the only thing that we can do is get up on this dragon's head a little bit earlier by taking damage, jumping on his head slightly before pulling the swords out is available. That's it. Otherwise, we just got to avoid his attacks. They all look the same always, so you can kind of just like swag with your movement for a little while and just wait for them to be finished. Aside from that, this is kind of the breather before we enter the last two kingdoms in the run.
Which, if you haven't been paying attention, has hard things in them. Alright, so we just have one phase left. Practically exactly the same, except more swords.
Yeah. This, honestly, if something came along to eliminate the need to do this kingdom at all, it would probably just make every Super Mario Odyssey speedrunner's life way better, because it would avoid this unnecessary kind of side-scrolling, boring part of the run.
So that's it. Nothing exciting, but we're moving on.
Yeah. The first time I played this game, I didn't know what this dragon was doing in this game. I thought I had actually like switched games. At some point, I was like, well, okay, this doesn't look like it belongs at all.
It's Dark Souls.
Spyro HD.
Dude, Spyro is in this game?
They
You didn't tell
finally
me?
did the collab we've all been waiting for.
When's he coming to Smash?
And in case you guys are wondering, motion controls are a very big thing in this game, which makes it wonderful. Anytime you see Cappy kind of spin around Mario and then a spin throw like that, he's literally like kind of doing a boomerang motion with his hands in order to make it work. It makes the game very involved. And you get a bit of like a forearm workout by doing this game, the speedrun, as often as you do.
It also adds a lovely element of, am I going to get the motion control that I'm trying to input?
Yeah, because the kind of crummy thing is that motion controls can do like 3 different things. So you can get any combination of the things, and if it's not the right one, then bad things can happen. So. Now, in classic, modern Mario fashion, this is the last kingdom in the run. Bowser kind of tricks you at the end, and you end up going in a different direction, just for spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen. But this does kind of test all of your platforming abilities here. There's story elements to this. We actually can't leave this kingdom until we have done the boss that waits at the end. So we do have to get all the story moons along the way in order to open up the path to the next place, and open up the path to the final boss in this kingdom as well. So because of that, we need to collect 8 moons, but it doesn't tell us that until we finish the boss fight. So we just get the story moons plus 2 extras along the way in order to leave. And this upcoming part kind of really does test the platforming ability. Everything's going to be put to the test here. Motion control inputs. We're going to be doing some dive back strategy here. Getting these shards can look very slick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this can be kind of tricky, this one specifically.
Yeah, we're just gonna go for a normal method.
Just gonna grab it the regular way there.
The lovely thing about Cappy is when you're trying to home in on items like these shards or the poles back in Metro, if they're not on camera, they might as well just not exist. Cappy is notoriously annoying when it comes to trying to home in on things. And that shard is one of the strats that really tests the camera as much as possible because you want to dive as early as you can, otherwise you're not going to have the height to get back on the platform. But if you don't long jump out far enough, Cappy's not going to be able to reach the shard. So you really need to find that sweet spot, and it's not an easy sweet spot to find.
Yeah. Especially when you're trying to go fast, right? You're just trying to fit every tight input in as optimally as you possibly can, and that can be really tricky when there's a lot of them to do. Now, another affectionately referred to as ram strategy here. He's going to basically set up a capture warp, dive up here, get this moon, and then magically warp his way back to this pylon over here.
Hell yeah.
Now, Tom, are you a Harriet or a topper first, gang?
Well, you're just gonna have to wait and see which direction I go. Oh, wait, oh,
Okay,
it's a
Harriet is. All right, shoutouts to Harriet, gang.
Sorry, Topper boys. Nope, what are you doing? Come back. This is what I get, I guess.
So this is supposed to be styled as like a rematch against these guys, a little bit of a harder version. We don't ever face Harriet because we don't bother encountering her in Sand Kingdom at all because it's a little bit slow to get to her. But the mechanics of this fight are just throw the bombs back at her.
And they're really annoying.
Yep, this certainly can be. There we go.
There are some fancy first-person strats you can do, but they're just about as annoying as just doing it the normal way, especially if you don't have the visual cues that you need.
Hey, it worked. You got it on the last one there, that's good. And so Harriet is one of two. The other one is Topper, and Topper, you're going to remember from the beginning of the game, it seems that he went shopping. He's got himself a lot more hats now than he did the first time. You can see that they're all circling around here. I don't even know how he manages to balance them all.
He's just been practicing this whole time.
Easy finish up there. And the reward for both of them is just a single power moon. That's it. That's all you get. And this all kind of builds up to the penultimate moment of the kingdom. We're basically in the main courtyard now as we cross this bridge. We just need to get one more moon to fill our moon count when we leave, and then we're going to be facing off against the final boss here. And of course, it leads you to believe that you're going to be fighting Bowser, but then a Robo Brutal basically kind of swoops in and takes the place instead. But very scary jump that Tom's doing here to get in behind those crates. Usually requires a capture to break those open, but he's going to do it just fine the normal way here.
And a bit of a blind jump right here.
Yeah, the camera is particularly finicky there. It doesn't really give you any freedom, so you have to do that jump blind. And now shoutouts to the burp. Climbing up the side of the wall here and into this fight. And now, if you've played this game, you're obviously familiar with the casual strategy for this fight. We're gonna make this look way different. We're not going to use the captures for this fight at all. Essentially, to do this fight fast, we want to get on top and we want to stay on top, and using the capture is just absolutely too slow. So you're going to see him kind of ruin this fight completely.
Unfortunately, this is a bit of an annoying part about it. Trying to get on top seems to be the hardest part. Those bubbles are really weird perfectly stacked on top of each other. So trying to backflip around them can be a bit tricky sometimes.
Yeah. So obviously you can see that the Robo Brutal is like forcefully pushing Mario away. We're doing everything that we can to get back over to him and hit the bubbles. This little running phase, this animation here, you're not allowed to hit any of the bubbles. They're completely invulnerable at this point, so we have to wait for this sequence to finish before we can continue. And then gotta set up for this last one. This is very risky.
Nah, it ate my input.
Yeah, 'cause something like that can happen, so.
It's alright. That only loses about, what, like 20 seconds?
About 15, 20 seconds. Just gotta wait for him to stomp around, and then he'll give us a bird that we can use to climb back up, so.
These birds are really annoying. Sometimes you'll go into their animations and then you can't actually move anymore. But it seems to be just completely arbitrary on when it'll allow you to do what it wants you to do. It's fine. I'm back.
Oh yeah.
That's annoying.
It can be kind of tricky once you get back on top. This phase specifically, this is why this strategy is so risky. Because getting back on top after you've fallen off, he just kind of stomps around forever and never really gives you an opportunity, so you got to be quick. But he's going to be able to get it here now. And finish off the fight. Very nice.
Odyssey's unfortunately one of those games where a lot of the top level tricks tend to only save a few seconds at most, but they lose a lot and a lot of time.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating that a game that is just about 2 years old now has a level of optimization that just about no other speed game has. It has actually surpassed Super Mario 64 for the most runners of any speed game of all time on Speedrun.com. It's one of the most accessible. I feel like it's because it's new. It's also very like a lot of people know about it, so they get into it. It's an easy game to beat. Very, 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 very difficult game to master at the top level, just because of what Tom said. The tricks that are saving top runners time are saving 2 seconds. If you fail them, they lose you 30. That's kind of what the top level of this game looks like. But it's such a technical precision, and it is very satisfying to get those runs when they finally do click.
But we only have one more kingdom to go. We're going to the moon, apparently, where we'll have our final encounter with Bowser and finish off the game.
Yeah, and this kingdom, not the trickiest in the run to finish it off, but it kind of is broken up into 3 segments. You've got the segment from the beginning to when you get to the Bowser fight. You've got the Bowser fight itself, and then you've got the sequence after the Bowser fight to just kind of finish up the game. And if you die in any one of those segments, you go back to the beginning of it. So it can be a huge time loss if you mess it up, but if you know what you're doing, if you got your things under wraps, if you play it safe, you're usually going to be okay. Now this Mario game in particular has a very weird thing about distance in the air. So when he's doing these triple jumps, you're going to see that he's kind of zigzagging. That's what we call vectoring. And vectoring is what gives us some extra distance by kind of tricking the game into how fast we're going. That's how he's able to clear that gap with a triple jump like that. And considering how fast rocket flowers are, this is actually the only time they get seen in the run, which is kind of fascinating. They just don't really pop up in an optimal place anywhere else.
They used to be at Seaside.
Now, what he's setting up for here, if you played this game casually, there's a cave nearby with some really dope music. Yeah, it's too slow, so we're just going to go ahead and jump past it instead. Just like that. Saves about 3.5 minutes.
One of the biggest time saves in the run, and also not overly difficult at all, thankfully.
Amazingly discovered basically day one when this game came out. We were like, yeah, we could probably just use the moon physics to avoid having to go into that cave altogether.
Thankfully, didn't get patched by Nintendo either.
Hi, gents. Do we have time for another donation?
Yeah.
we got a $1.48 from Jed Laudier saying, hi, me again. Remember, XD, skip or bust.
Are you going to do it, Tom?
Sorry, I missed it. What?
Are you going to do XD skip?
XD skip? No.
Well, I guess that's a bust then. So this Bowser fight, very similar to the one we had in Cloud Kingdom. Arguably a little bit easier, because in between each of his phases, he jumps into the middle of the arena, throws fire at you, and then it gives you a lot of time to set up, so you don't have to worry about rushing back to hit him or anything. And this fire looks really scary, but Tom could probably demonstrate that it's really just not at all. It's basically a ground scan, so if you're in the air, it's not going to hit you. Okay, well.
I just didn't jump. Well, that's an awkward positioning.
There we go. Grab the hat for the last time. Just got to dodge Bowser's tail, swiping back and forth a couple times here. And this is kind of one of those, but wait, there's more situations. We finished Bowser off. He's obviously not looking too good. But now the moon is going to explode, so we need to basically use everything that we've got to try and get out of here. And I don't know about you, but when I played this game casually, I was popping off at this point because it's like, oh my god, we get to play as Bowser.
Doesn't last long enough.
So a couple scary things with this. There is going to be a 2D section coming up here, and the idea is that you're using Bowser and his fireball mechanic to kind of break through some of the rocks to get through this section. There's this kind of a tricky jump that we can do. It saves about 2 seconds, and if you miss it, you go back to the beginning of this escape sequence. So you're going to see him attempt it here. First try, very nice.
Don't ask Reddit if that's worth it, because I'll tell you it's not.
Yeah. XD skip would basically be doing that again in the next part around the corner, but it doesn't save any time. So it's kind of like a meme thing that the community can do if you want to go for it, just to, you know, for swag points. And now this is kind of the final room of the game. The idea is to break these pillars with 5 fireballs each. They'll all fall into the middle and reveal one more thing that you got to break in order to escape. And it's all about getting that first pillar. That's kind of what makes this room fast. If you can get that first pillar with only fireballs, then the rest of the room is pretty much good to go. So you got that pretty well.
It doesn't look like I'm having all that hard of a time, but I'm honestly wrestling the camera quite a lot. It likes to try and direct you to where it thinks you want to go, but as you would assume, that's not really where I want to be looking, and it can kind of ruin you like that. Hey, I didn't get the fire again.
Yeah, you can see the camera is really doing something weird here.
This is me, I do this on purpose.
We're just going to deal with it. It's fine. And time is going to happen right when he shoots out of this wire here.
It's about in 3 seconds. And
time. Very nice.
And that is Super Mario Odyssey.
That is Super Mario Odyssey.
Alright guys, I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Dee for being on the couch. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming all the way from Canada.
Shout out to Tom for, you know, supporting the community. It really is a great community, and it's really nice to see, you know, it be showcased at an event like this, and I hope you guys check it out.
So you got to set up for the next run, so I'm going to say farewell. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it.